Okay, hello everyone. All right, so let's talk about the break statement in the switch control structure and when you may or may not need it. Also, we're going to talk about something called fall through with the switch control structure. So I'm going to create a program to demonstrate this. We're going to create a program that's going to ask a user a question. The question is going to be simply, what is 1 plus 1? It's going to be a multiple choice question. So the user has to enter the character A, B, C, or D as the answer. So the answer is going to be 2 for that question. What is 1 plus 1? The answer is 2. So since I'm going to be accepting inputs from the user, I'm going to either use, I have a couple of options. I can use the scanner class, or I can use the JOption pane class. So in this case, I'm just going to choose to use the scanner class. I can choose to use the JOption pane, but I'm just choosing to use the scanner class. All right, so to use the scanner class, we need to import it first so that the program can have access to the scanner class and the methods in it. So I'm going to import java.util.scanner. I'm importing the scanner class located in the java.util package located in the Java API. Okay, so since so now that we've imported a scanner class, we have to create a scanner object, right? So we can use it to prompt the user for information and also convert the user and use it. Convert the user's information and use it. So I'm going to create a scanner class type variable. I'm going to call it keyboard. This is just a scanner class type variable. And I'm going to now create the scanner object in memory. So new scanner. Oops. And then I'm going to pass in system.in, which is going to accept bytes information, okay, from the keyboard, and we're going to connect it to the scanner object so we can use methods in the scanner class to convert that input to whatever we want, whether we want it to be ints or doubles or anything at all. All right, so now that we have the scanner object, let's go ahead and prompt, or let's go ahead and ask the user to, or the question. Let's display the question. So I'm going to use a system.out.println. Oops. And I'm going to display what is 1 plus 1 with a question mark. I'm just going to form the whole string using one system.out.println statement in a multiple choice format. So what is 1 plus 1? I'm going to say on the next line, so new line character \n, the character A. Okay, so the new line character, we've talked about this, but the new line character basically breaks the line. Anything that comes after the new line character, the \n together, okay, the \n together is the new line character. Anything that comes after the \n is displayed from the next line going. So this is going to be displayed. The new line character is going to cause the position to move to the next line, and anything that comes after it, okay, is going to be displayed on the next line, going. Anything that comes after it without the quotations. All right, so A, I'm going to display the answer, let's say 5. And then we're going to go to the next line again. B, I'm going to display the answer, let's say 7. Let's make C the correct answer. So next line, C, let's display 2. And then let's have one more, D. Oops, next line first. D is going to be, let's say, 1. All right. So let's first compile the program, run it to see how the question is displayed. So compile this and then run, and it says what is 1 plus 1? A, 5, B. Okay, so it's working. It's being displayed correctly. So now we have to accept information from the user, right? So we need to accept a character, and remember I did a video about how to read a character. You first have to use a next line method to accept a string, and then we can use the char@, or char@ method to grab the first character of the string. Okay, so we first need to accept a string, and so I'm going to create a string variable. Okay, and I'm going to call it user input string. So over here, I'm going to use the scanner object we created, keyboard, and I'm going to call the next line method, and the next line method. So basically, this is going to prompt some kind of text box, and it's going to allow the user to type in a value. Now, whatever the user types is going to be returned to us as a string. It's going to be sent back to us as a string. And when it's sending it back to us as a string, we need a place to store it. So that's why I declared the string class type variable, okay, to hold the string object, okay, that is coming from the user or from this next line method. And so user input string is going to hold that value. So now we know we have the user's value, user's input stored here as a string, but we don't need a string. We need a character. That's what we're going to use a switch statement to test on, to see if the user typed in the correct answer. So if the user types in A, even if the user types in the character A here, it's going to be stored here as a string, but we need it as a character. Otherwise, we may encounter problems. We need a character. All right, so I'm going to over here create a variable to hold a character, right? Before we do that, let's just try to get the first character out of the string. And we know we talked about this also. So it's going to be user input string dot char at or char at, depending on how you want to say it, 0. So basically we are grabbing the character at position 0 or index 0 of the string. So if the user types in, let me use a comment to explain. If the user types in, let's say, apple, right? Each character has a position of, each character in the string here has a position starting from 0. So A has a position of 0, P has a position of 1, this next P has a position of 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. The first character has a position of 0. So we are grabbing that character, regardless of what the person typed. If the person typed only the string A, well, it looks like a character, but it's going to be stored as a string, right? So if the person types A, we are grabbing that A as a character, okay? So this char add method over here, input string dot char add method over here, is going to return a character. And when it's returning a character, we need a place to store it. So I'm going to come up here and declare a character variable. So it's going to be a char. Okay, well, when I say character, I mean char. Okay, char, a char variable. So char, and I'm going to call it now user answer. So user answer is now going to store whatever char value or whatever character that this method here is returning. So user answer is going to be equal to that character. So now we have the character. Now we can test on it using the switch. So I'm going to start with my switch keyword. My condition goes into these parentheses, and I'm going to have my curly braces for my block of code. All right, so the condition we want to test, or basically the value that we want to test on, the expression, our test expression, okay, that's what goes here, is going to be user answer. We want to check on the user answer. We are going to switch between the cases we are going to type in this block based on the value of user answer. All right, so in the case where user answer is the character, now if you know if it's a character, then it's surrounded with, we have to denote it with surrounded with single quotations, right? So in the case user answer is the character A, and we have our colon, then let's display a message, system.out.println. Let's say that well, A is a wrong answer, right? So let's say A is not the, let's just do this, A is not the correct answer. So, and then we're going to say correct answer is, correct answer is, what is it, C? C was the correct answer, so C. And then we have our break. So that's what we are used to now. We have our break statements, and we'll talk about it in a moment. It's going to do the same thing, just going to make a copy of this. So for B, I'm going to say in the case where user answer is B, system.out.println, B is not the correct answer. B is not the correct answer. Correct answer is C. In the case, and again, we have our break statement. In the case where the user typed in the character C, then we're going to say that now C, well, let's say great job. C, right, is the correct answer. And then let's have our D option. I'm saying in the case where user answer is D, print out message here. Let's say D is not the correct answer is C. Okay, so let's compile this and see how it runs so far. Alright, oops. This is a semicolon and not a colon, semicolon. Alright, so compile this, run. What is 1 plus 1? I'm going to type in A. Hit enter and it says A is not the correct answer. Correct answer is C. Compile this and run again. Well, it's supposed to just run it. B, hit enter. B is not the correct answer. Run this again. Type in C, hit enter and says great job. C is the correct answer. Run it for D. D is not the correct answer. All right, so that's how we are used to the switch statements. That's how we know that's how we know the switch statements. That we know that's how it works. So it basically checks the headers of the case statements over here, the headers. It checks these case statements and matches it with what's in user answer. So it's user answer A. It checks these first and foremost here, and if it gets a match, it branches to that case block and starts running until it encounters a break statement. That is how come when I run the program and I type in A, it displays the system. It displays this line of code here, which is A is not the correct answer. But then we don't see anything else after it because of the break statement. It breaks out of the switch statement. If you don't have the break statement in the switch structure, what happens is what's called fall through. What happens is what's called fall through. And now we forgot the default. I'll put it in there in a second. But what happens here is what's called fall through. I'm going to compile this and then run. I'm going to type in A. So it's going to check and match it with A here. It's going to run the code here, but instead of exited, because we don't have any break statement, it's going to run through. It's going to fall through and run everything, okay, after case A. As soon as it finds a match, it just keeps running until it finds a break, so that it can branch out, or so that it can get out of the switch structure. If it doesn't find a break, it runs through it until the end. So when I type in A and hit enter, you can see that it's running through to display all of these. That's why the break statement is very important. I'm going to put the break, let's say right after case A. So break here. So when I run this time around and type in A, it's going to match with case A. Run this, basically display the system.out print statement. It sees a break and gets out of the switch structure. See, when I put the break, oops, let's put the break right after, let's say, B. Display this statement and break here. I'm going to type in the character A. So it's going to match with this case A, and it's going to branch into its block and start running. So it's going to run the statement. Remember, it keeps running until it finds a break. So it runs the statement, gets to case B, it just keeps going until it finds a break. It runs the statement, it finds a break, now it gets out of the control structure. So we're going to see two statements. Compile, again, run, hit A. See, we see two statements. So the break is very important. Sometimes though, this is what this is what we want. Sometimes it's important. We don't, it depends on what we need. Sometimes there are cases where not having a break statement helps, and I'll show you that now. Before that, let me just undo this and bring all the break statements back. So we are back to where we were. Compile this, test it out with, let's say, C, and it says, great job. It's C is the correct answer. All right, so let's just have our default. Remember, our default case is what happens when what's stored in user answer is not any of these. It's not A, B, C, or D. So in that case, let's just display a statement and say, please type in, or let's say you did not type in A, B, C, or D. Break. Now, because this is the last case, we don't necessarily need a break. It just finishes this case and then goes out of the structure. But some programmers put the break statement here for consistency. I like to put it there for consistency, but you don't necessarily need it because there's really nothing after it. But I like to keep it there for consistency. All right. So we compile this. Let's just try the default one. I'm going to type in, let's say, the value, let's say 9. Hit enter, and it says you do not type in A, B, C, or D, right? Or you can type in anything else, and it's going to say the same thing. Anything else other than A, B, C, or D. All right. So I talked about the fact that in some cases you may not need a break, right? And I'm going to display that here and explain. So I'm going to add another case here, and I'm going to add uppercase A. Before that, if I compile this, I'm going to remove the case uppercase A. Run this. If I compile this, sometimes, right, the user may enter the uppercase A, right, meaning to choose A. But because we didn't explicitly define it in the switch structure, it's not going to work. When I hit enter, it says you do not type in A, B, C, or D. But meanwhile, this is really correct, right? We are trying to select A. I'm going to explain why we may not need a break to solve this this particular scenario. And so I'm going to have case, the character uppercase A and a colon. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing for let's just start with case A, uppercase A. So compile this and run. I'm going to type in lowercase a. We know that works. Hit enter. A is not the correct answer. Let's try compile run. I'm going to type in uppercase A, hit enter, and it says A is not the correct answer. So it was able to detect that even uppercase A, okay, still is A. And this is what's happening here. So anytime you start with your switch structure, again, it goes through these cases first. It tries to go through, it checks these cases first. This has become a whole new case. This is a whole new case. There are no statement under it, but it's a case. And so if something matches this case, nothing happens. Nothing happens under it because there are no statements to run. But because there's no break, it falls through. So let me explain. When I compile the program and I run and I hit, well, I don't have to keep compiling it unless I change anything, right? I'm used to it. All right, so when I type in the lowercase a and hit enter, what is happening is this. It's checking these cases, it's checking the headers, right? So it finds a match, case A. So it branches into the block, assume that there's a block here. Just assume there's a block here. But in this case, there's really nothing, right? So I'm going to just shift it back. But assume there's a block there. It finds what I'm trying to say is assume there's an empty block over there. Okay, there's nothing over there, right? So that's what's under case A. There's nothing. So it finds a match, case lowercase a, right? That's what I'm about to type. And then it goes into that block and runs nothing, right? Remember the way the switch structure works. As soon as it finds a case, it goes into its block, keeps running the lines under it until it finds a break. So it finds a match with A, it goes into its block. Let me just have a line here, just using this to explain. It finds a match A, goes into the block, it finds nothing, it runs nothing. There's no break statement under it. It gets to this, it doesn't care, it keeps running. And then now it displays the message, A is not the correct answer. And then it finds a break here and stops. That's when you type in a lowercase a, right? It finds a match, it runs nothing under case A, but there's no break statement to stop it, so it keeps going. It doesn't care about this, it's just running. And then it displays this. Okay, it finds a break here and it stops. Compile. Let's try with uppercase A. When you type in uppercase A, remember the first thing that it does is it goes through the different cases. Uppercase A is not lowercase a, so it checks case A and says no, that's not it. And it comes to the next case, it finds the next case, which is uppercase A, and then it runs the statement under it. So that's straightforward. It's just the first one here that's tricky and confusing. So let me just go over that just for one more time. So when you type in the lowercase a, right, it tries to scan these case headers, right, these headers here. So it finds a match, case lowercase a, and anytime it finds a match, it runs the statement or the block, the block of statements under case A. In this case, there are no statement under case A. Look, there are statement under case uppercase A. There are statement under case lowercase b. See, there are statements under lowercase c. There are no statements under lowercase a. So the program runs nothing. So it finds a match, all right. It branches into the block of case A, right, and it runs nothing. But remember the way the switch structure works. Once it finds a match, it keeps running the block of statement, okay, until it finds a break before it gets out of the switch structure. So it branches into the case A, runs nothing, okay, runs nothing, but it will keep going until it finds a break. So let me just use a line over here to explain. So if it finds a match A, runs nothing here, but it keeps going because there's no break to stop it. It keeps going, doesn't care about this line, just keeps going. It runs this line here, and then encounters the break and it stops. That's why when you type in a lowercase a, okay, it finds a match and it runs all the way through, ignores this, and then ignores this line here and displays the line A is not the correct answer. So in this case, if we had a break over here, let's say in the case of A, we have a break, compile, run. Now when I type in lowercase a and hit enter, nothing happens because it found a match. It run nothing. There are no statements under A. It found a break and stopped. That's why we don't see anything. That's why when I hit run, we don't see anything, because it found a match, right? It attempted to run lines of code under case A. There are none, although there's none. And then it encountered the break statement and it got out of the switch structure. That's why it displayed nothing. But because there's no break over here, this is when you will not need a break. Okay, this is when you will not need a break. So I'm going to remove the break. If you want something like this, okay, a program to work like this, you have your case A, it finds a match, it tries to run the code under it, okay, under case A, and it finds no statement. It keeps going because there's no break, and ignores this case A because it's going, right? It's running, at this point it's running the statement under case A. It's running. Keeps going, runs the statement here, encounters a break, and then it stops. I apologize for the noise. It's just not notifications. I need to stop them. Just quit. It's my WhatsApp. All right. So it finds a match case, lowercase a. At this point, it just keeps running the statement under case lowercase a. Ignores this. Just keeps running the statement. Displays the statement, encounters a break, and then stops. So that's that's when you would need a structure like this. That's when you would not include your break statement if you want something like this. And it works, right? It works in the case where you either type in lowercase a or uppercase A. I know that maybe I'm talking too much, but I'm just trying to make sure this makes sense, because this can be very helpful, and it can be confusing also if you don't know how it works. So we can use the same idea for this and say case, B over here. Just copy this line here and then have one more. This is supposed to be a colon. This is supposed to be a colon. Remove this. And then one more here. And then that's it. So when I compile this, I have an error. In the case, no colon here. Compile, no colon here as well. Compile, and this is supposed to be C. I meant to type C. It says duplicate case label, because I have a case B over here already, and I have a case B here. So it's duplicate case label. We're supposed to have only one type. You can't check for two things at the same time, right? So C over here, compile. Same thing here. Because I copied and pasted, that's why. So it changes to D also. Compile and then run. I'm going to type in uppercase C. Hit enter. It says great job, right? It was able to detect that C matches. Compile, run. Let's try something like lowercase d, which works. D is not the correct answer. Let's run. I keep on compiling when I haven't made changes. It's fine. You only compile when you've made changes, and then you run it. So let's try uppercase A. Let's try uppercase B. B is not the correct answer. So it's working. This so the same idea, the same logic for this is the same way it's working for this. The switch statement keeps running through the code if it doesn't have a break statement. But then as soon as it encounters a break statement, as soon as it matches, it finds a case. First of all, it has to match a case. When it matches a case, it keeps running the code, okay, if there are no break statements. But if it matches a case and it keeps running and it encounters a break statement, then it goes out of the switch structure. So I hope this makes sense. And I know that again I was talking too much, but I'm only trying to make this clear. But if you have any questions, please comment down below, and I'll do everything to respond to them. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time with the next video. All right then. Bye-bye.